I'm feeling protected.
Welcome to Unbiased and on the Fence. It's Tuesday, and I'm joined with Michelle Wolfe. How's it going, Michelle?
Hey, brother. Doing good today. Yeah. Last couple of days been riding the high of the wave. So lots of energy. But a few days ago when we had that first big Schumann blast, man, that took me out for the day. Took me a day to recover physically. I found it very hard. My lower back, my hips just burning down to my knees, like just really feeling it from the lower half of my body. Um, and then yeah, just lasted a day and not even the day, and then come out of it and have just been having a lot of great energy to do stuff. So, but I know it's been a bit of like a bob with this, like,
Yeah.
the fishing bobber on the surface of the water, and the waves kind of come in and yanks you, yanks you real good under the surface. And I know with that, I think we were just talking just before you were experienced sort of a sense of I know some hopelessness or overwhelmed that people have been feeling, or a real accentuated or overexcited ego mind that really wants to get carried away with its own story so much more that it's really becoming noticeable for us to see this difference. Like normally we would have just been in there with our mind, just letting it go, and being in that. And now it's like it's happening, but at the same time we're going, whoa, like, why is that happening? What's going on? What are you saying? Why are you feeling that way? And being able to look at, even though we're experiencing it and it sucks, still being able to look at it sort of outside of yourself and objectively, to be able to say, what is going on really. And then boom comes the opportunity then, with that question asked, I think, for those answers to come flooding in, and that bobber just goes poof and it just pops through the surface so fast. So we get a really good yank under the water. But I think, all the prep and the work and really being able to see the process, step outside of the process, we're just literally like launching back out of that water, like boing, and going off to execute whatever it is we feel we have the energy to do in that moment of now. Like it's really quite an explosive change. That's what I found, and from hearing what you've been experiencing as well too.
Yeah, I did want to mention really quick because Kate Wright just hopped in here and she
Hi,
reminded
Kate.
me about the November 11th get together in the Metro St. Louis, Missouri area. So if you are within, driving distance and you want to meet up with other people from the community, love light workers, Mandela affected people, or whatever you want to do, if you're in that area and it's close enough, please do email me and put St. Louis in the subject line, and I will connect you with, because I don't know if it's all right to put my email's out there already, so I will connect you to who you need to be connected with to get you the information about the event. So I also want to mention that just that same weekend in Idaho, we're having the West Coast Mandela Effect conference. So that's actually it's got its own website. I didn't put the link below because I was running a little late, but I will add that. So if you're watching this later, the link is in the description below. Mandela Effect, West Coast Mandela Effect Conference is the name of that, and that's going to be the
Exciting.
8th through 10th, I think. Keynote speaker is going to be Cynthia Sue Larson. I'm going to be speaking that Sunday, so it's going to be
wow.
my
my goodness
my first thing out speaking. We're going to have our book out and stuff.
Oh
it's
wow,
going to
that's
be
big year.
yeah. It
It's
has
a
been a
big
big
year.
Gosh, I never would have even imagined it. All the times I've watched YouTube videos of people standing up there doing their PowerPoint and stuff. Never thought I'd be the one up there.
Well, I think this year has been shaping up to be, what we heard it was going to be last year. In that really actually stepping into those experiences. And when you look at, I mean, for myself, getting all of a sudden getting to go to Sedona and going to ECETI, the ECETI for you as well, and then having the book, like
Yeah.
we're actually walking in those,
Yeah.
yeah, in those shoes, and having those experiences. And I know that right now we are in a really heightened time for planting seeds for those future experiences too, that we may want to have. Like, this is the time to plant them. So
Well, I know
seeing,
2018 was the best year of my life, and 2019 is going to shape up to be the best year of my life. And I think I can continue this process moving forward
me
if I
too.
can continue at this growth level, because everything's just becoming so exciting to see so many miraculous things begin to manifest. And I've got so many exciting things to share coming up in the future. You see that, and it just makes you vibe so high. So if I appear to be glowing right now, I
He's glowing.
am.
He is glowing.
I am.
He's got the mojo going on right now. It's flowing through you. Yeah, and you
But
know what?
just a
And
few
you're,
days ago, I got
yeah,
this wave, like you just mentioned it a moment ago,
yeah.
this wave of hopelessness. It was so strong. It was just like this feeling of like, man, I
Why
am just
bother?
so done. I'm so
Yeah.
done. I just
Why
want to
bother?
get out of here. Why bother? Yeah, it's like the progress is so slow. And, I hadn't had that since my dark night of the soul, but it hit me and it was so outside of where I was that I knew it wasn't me. I knew
Yeah,
it was an external wave. But
yeah,
other people weren't so lucky because my interactions with other people let me know that because some of the people were already resonating at a low, hopeless sort of feeling, and this just exacerbated that.
just confirms all their beliefs.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
then other people that just weren't really paying attention to the fact that it was an external sort of wave that came through. And I don't know if everyone perceived it as negative or if it was just me or just some people or what, but it was definitely an external feeling of hopelessness that went through that was really strong. And I know it wasn't just me that felt it. And I just wanted to
yeah,
mention that because I know other people had to have noticed it, you know.
yeah. But yeah, no, and we have in this house too.
Could it be connected with like the Amazon fires and the hurricanes, and maybe there's just a big wave of that going
Well,
through
that's
from?
that's when the energy, like, the energy comes in, and it comes in. It's funny. How much they talk about global warming as if what's going on within the planet is what's changing the atmosphere of the planet, but it's really not the case. It's the solar weather that we're getting. It's the lessening the magnetosphere and these solar winds coming in. So we saw the blast. Like, if you look at any of the space weather news info, I mean, the blasts are coming in on the Schumann, the solar wind, the CMEs were coming in. That exaggerates and instigates, these hurricanes, these earthquakes. All
Yeah.
of this stuff is really more affected by space weather. That's the funny thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same energy that's coming in and it's hitting us. So we see the Earth reacting to these different things, and if you look, with the fires in the Amazon, well, that stuff's, it's all in the astrology too. All the like, it's all in there, but it's all playing a role. It's all playing a part, and it's part of a process. And the chaos is part of what is required in order to create new, in order to have new beginnings. A deconstruction has to happen in order to reform. So it's going to play out, and this deconstruction is going to play out in a variety of ways within ourselves. So some ways can hit us more because we're all so different, we're all so individual. I mean, remember months ago I talked about that tuning board, like we're all this like infinite tuning board with all these switches. So when these waves come in, depending on our own tuning boards, we're so we can have a lot of similarities, but there's nuances, there's subtleties, there's different things within ourselves, our construct, our stories, all of these things that need to be shook up, caused to be a little chaotic, so they can reconnect and reform in a better way for you moving forward. So we just have to remember that as much as possible when it doesn't feel like it.
Right.
Right? But that's what's playing out around us. and it's playing out within us. So it's all part and parcel when we see that stuff getting agitated around us. It's not necessarily because of that we're getting agitated, but it's all in the
Feeding it.
same.
Yeah.
It's all in the same. Yeah, it's all showing the same results,
But
showing the same side effects.
It's also helpful to know it's a wave too, because waves
Hmm.
never just stick around. So you know that just hang in there, hang on, and it's gonna get better. You know, just by the fact that time is passing. You don't need anything else to happen really. You know, it's a
Yeah,
wave of energy. So
and this is hard, but I have to say it, that as much as you can recognize that it's an opportunity for mastery. I mean,
hmm
when you're in the moment, you don't even want to hear that. You're like, I don't even want to bother, you know. But if we can keep pulling ourselves to do what we need to even breathe to get to the place where we can recognize that it really is. And sometimes when we think we've mastered these things, we're like, why am I still getting hit with this? It's because it really is the fine tuning now. It really is the mastery, and the how quickly we can overcome and bounce back is really showing that mastery. So it's not, being a master isn't to say that we aren't going to get really sunk or pulled under with that.
all right.
It's how we tackle it. So because that's going to happen. That's part of what's honing the blade. That's one thing that always stuck into me is like the finest samurai swords. What they require is the metal being repeatedly folded, and hammered down over and over and over and over again. But that's why they are the finest blades, right? So that's essentially the process that we're going through right now, and it's sharpening our our blade. So
So while we're focusing on many times the now moment of sort of suffering or whatever, you know, there is that future to look forward to of what it's going to
yeah,
bring about,
well,
because
that's
through
one
tough
trick. Yeah,
times you
a trick I
get
learned
things.
visually. It was like, because you feel that's exactly it, just like you said, to feel like that it's just about like it's just a moment about suffering.
Hmm
And if you can just go switch suffering to honing, then you've just taken one step. Like,
Yeah, that's it.
to honing.
That's essentially what I do. I take a problem, the idea, because we see it as a problem typically, right? But then you
Yes.
see it as an opportunity. So it's just a shift in perspective. You're like, okay, this is that thing that's coming out of the norm, that's here to teach me something. What is it here to teach me? What am I going to learn from this one? And you
This is
recognize it as sort of like this classroom. And you begin to realize nothing's accidental. This came by my way for a reason. Let me find out the reason. What am I going to learn this time? And if something big hits you, look at it. I know it's hard to do when something big hits you, to look at anything optimistically or whatever. But if you
mhm.
can keep in mind that you're not alone and this is happening for a reason and it's to bring about some greater result, if you can really have that perspective, it can totally change your experience.
Yeah.
You know.
That is so fundamental to this, to everything that is going on in our world right now, that literally, if if the majority of the population was able to just do that right
hmm
there, we would be so instantly and dramatically in a different place. We really would,
Absolutely.
because it wouldn't be about victimization. It wouldn't be about pointing fingers. It wouldn't be about blame. It wouldn't be
It'd
about
be
all,
about the experience and what am I
yeah,
going to learn from this?
yeah,
Yeah.
it would be all, people would be back into themselves and taking responsibility for themselves and their own feelings, and bam, like
Yeah.
that would be it right there. And
That
that's
would be
why
the
this
shift.
lesson is so important, that we're all going to be pushed to really do that, till we get really good at it, till we get
Yeah.
really really good at it, you know. So that's all that it is. And I think that if you can keep that awareness, you will see the results of how quickly you can bounce back from these things. How, like, that you can, bob, maybe you started off the day feeling, but you don't even have to finish the day feeling like that. Like, we
hmm
can purge this stuff out in the same. It's not to say that it's not going to happen. It's going to happen because it's honing our blade. It's
Yeah.
creating that mastery. So it's just how quickly we can recognize that when it does happen, to switch to, opportunity from suffering is
Yeah.
enormous, enormous, and it will make a drastic difference on everything you do. And it makes it that much easier to keep taking those steps. Then if you can get to that platform, then it's much easier to get to the next and literally walk yourself right out of that basement.
And I
That's kind of
really
what it
think
feels like.
that's,
We get kicked down the stairs all the way down to the basement with this
yeah.
sometimes. And it's just picking yourself back up the floor to even have the energy to put your foot back on that step again and say, okay. But if you can do that first step as opportunity, it'll be
Yeah.
so much easier to get back up those stairs.
Yeah. And it actually helps you move through the lessons quicker because you're not wasting all this time feeling like a victim for 6 months before you realize, oh, this was here to teach me something. You know
Yeah,
what I
because
mean?
you're not wasting all that time talking about everybody else.
Right. Exactly.
You're
You
talking about you.
recognize, yeah, you recognize it. You have the power to do something about it when it's you, you
Yeah.
know? So you're
Because
not
you don't
stuck
when it's
trying
everybody
to
else.
change people for 5 years, right?
Yeah. And how much quickly everything will change because you
Yeah.
can't change other people. You can't change what they're going to do, they're going to say, they're going to feel. Can't you can't.
Yeah.
So you really have to the only thing you can is you, and the more we realize that every day. So it's just that it can be really overwhelming, with when things really get chaotic outside in the world and we see these difficult things, and we want to get drawn in. But and speaking of that, I've noticed, so tech glitches, or
Oh, yeah. It's been
friend
really
whose
bad.
phone was gone, or got stolen, and I'm really tuning in the fact that, like, we need to put, like, the devices away. I think especially with the hurricane stuff going on, it seemed to me like I really got the impression of, like, just put it away.
Yeah.
Don't even. And God was busy outside doing other things, and I really felt like, with the hurricane, I just got a sense like it was just a whole bunch of fear chatter again,
Yeah.
and that the less attention, like, you pay to it, then it would literally just go nah, and nothing would
Right.
happen. Like, or not to say nothing happens, but not to the degree that the way that they want to present it. So, the more that we can tune out from sort of the media coverage of these things going on, the
Yeah.
better. Because I think with how quickly things manifest, literally, they're going to, and the planting the seeds of the fear, it just creates that possibility even more.
That's so funny
So
you said that because, I was considering, because we did the meditation to try to steer it out, and it didn't steer out. I mean, it steered out, but not maybe as quick as we'd hoped, And I was sitting there thinking how we would probably be way more effective if we attacked it much earlier before the media starts scaring everybody into manifesting it. Because then we've got our small group of people knowing what we're trying to do, and then the masses doing the opposite on accident, unknowingly helping steer it in by, fearing what's going to
yeah,
happen when it hits. So
I think
we're
so.
way outnumbered. But I think if we could hit it early enough before, because people tend to be like, it's 5 days away. I'm not worried about it. It's not only when it's on their doorstep that they begin to be like, oh gosh, it's going to hit us.
Right,
So if
right.
we start to try to steer these things and sort of get a hold of it before the media can take and turn it into this nightmare hurricane scenario, you know how they do.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think I think people are starting to tune into, and more of, I hope, not paying attention. I think of all the clips I've seen of weathermen out in hurricanes, and they're like, ah, and then two people just walk casually behind them.
yeah, I've seen that. I saw that same one.
And
That's
that's totally
hilarious.
what I was I was just getting about this whole thing. It's like,
Who
don't.
was that? Was that Richie from Boston maybe or somebody? Did you
I
ever watch him in the
probably
past?
Richie from Boston, yeah.
Yeah, I watch him from
Yeah,
time to time.
maybe,
He's
but
hilarious.
there's a few like that. So,
Yeah.
they over dramatize that, it's good to remember it, and just, yeah, just, it's going to play out the way it's going to play out. But the more fear focus we put on anything is only going to magnify that. And I think our own seed creation abilities are magnified right now. And it is important to be aware of it. I think that's really why we're getting pushed, to highlight, like, push to really see that separate, like, cycle that can go on in your head.
Yeah.
Like, really push to, like, be like, who? what's going on? Like, where is that coming from? What? That's not me.
I think
Because
that's the
it's so
Christ
important
consciousness.
right now, because
Yeah.
these seeds are being planted. We have to understand how much control we do have in this process. So we're really getting pushed to see
Yeah.
our separation in that. That's not necessarily, that doesn't have to be the decision maker. That's not,
Right.
they're just telling a story up there. What story are they even telling? Is that even my story? Who are
Right.
you? Right.
Right, and I feel like it's sort of this integration of the Christ consciousness coming in that's sort of creating this ability for us to see our thoughts as separate from us.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
because now you've got this higher mind that's sort of pulling you back and sort of letting you see things through the lens of love, and then you can recognize when things aren't in that lens of
Yes.
love or in alignment with love. And you're like, oh, that's
Yeah.
clearly not my thought or 3D me thought or whatever, but it's a
Or
lower
not the way
mind
I
thought.
choose to think right
Or
now.
not the way I choose to think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you
Yeah.
can
And I really
disassociate
feel
with the
that.
feeling. Yeah.
I really feel like the more that we're like sitting back into the heart and really feeling that energy here, and you know, in that now, really pushed into that now of like, I'm here, then it's becoming more and more and more clear, the separation. And it's not to say that we're eliminating this. Again, I think that there's been discussion back and forth. Is it a complete elimination of this ego mind? Because I think that what is happening with the energies coming in is we're actually going to have more use of our mind. So it's not to say that it's getting rid of our um like ego mind, or the brain function, or using
Right.
that. Well, that's going to be escalated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about it's about putting the reins on it. It's about
Mm-hmm.
that mastery, right? Because that is going to get over accelerated. The higher frequencies, this is going to work quicker.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we kind of see that, like we see when those higher frequencies come in, you see the Schumann jump, and then all of a sudden you can feel it. Your brain just starts going like this.
Right.
And we get the downloads, right? You're getting all these pictures, and it's like, whoa, and you're making connections like this.
Right.
So it's not to say that process is going to be eliminated. It just needs to work in balance with the
Exactly. I'm so glad
heart.
you said that because when I first discovered the Mandela Effect messages I felt I was getting, it was all about how we're way out of whack, way to the
Yeah,
masculine side.
that's
In
all.
every
Yeah.
aspect from our political and religion to the way our brains are. Because the left I am side of us, the ego I am, opposed to the I am divine side, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Doesn't have that balance there. And I think that's where the rainbow bridge comes in, is it not? Is that like going
I
to
think
connect
so.
and balance us where we have more of this balanced
Where it just
unity between the
locks in.
masculine and feminine, like you were talking last week about
Yeah.
how they work together, you know?
Yeah, and that we don't have to do to for the masculine side to see that it's time to turn within, to face the feminine side of ourselves, to make that connection, the masculine, feminine, turning to themselves and making that connection within and having an understanding within, as opposed to those energies looking outside of ourselves and exerting that, whether it be, you know going overboard on the feminine side in retaliation for the dominance of masculinity over all these eons, right? Like
Right.
that's leaning that way too. So it's both ways, but it's for those two aspects, those two energies that have been fending off the world, facing away from ourselves and doing what they do in opposition all the time of what is coming at us. It's taking those energies and turning and having them look and lock in and work together in balance, and boom, that locked in. And I think this is what is required now at this point for the next real framework of like real abilities of energy coming in, right? We've
Yeah.
got to lock that bridge in for it to
Definitely.
be walked across for the next like real wave, a push that actually really changes the abilities in that higher frequency with the increased oscillations, the gamma frequencies, and
Mm-hmm.
turning to abundant awareness. So this is, I think, what is required as a firm platform
Foundation. Mm-hmm.
for the abundant awareness, abundant attention ability to be able to come in and walk across that bridge and function. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What's all I gotta say about that?
Exciting times, though, and
They
it's like
are.
I've been getting these messages from the beginning about this whole balancing, and they continue to come up again and again, and I think this time with the feminine energies coming in, there might be a little bit of overcompensation,
Yes. Yeah.
because there's been this huge push, and sometimes like, whoa, we pushed a little too far, but I think it'll balance out. You know how like when two
Teeter totter.
yeah, you know how when two
Mhm.
galaxies coalesce and they kind of like mingle a little bit, and then it's going to be probably something a lot like that.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what we're experiencing within ourselves right now.
Yeah.
In different, depending on our own individuality and how much these things are out of whack or out of balance.
Hmm.
That's essentially kind of like what's that process like, whoo,
Right.
till it can stabilize and balance out. But I think that's why there's a real urgency to this. I think that this is going to be the real focus closing out, like this year.
Yeah.
It's going to really, these energies are really going to push this to the surface to get that balance in, for then I think what the energies in 2020 are beginning, like, even I know lunasis with the like eclipse on December 25th, like that's going to be a huge shift too. So I think this is really pivotal foundation building for that bridge of balance that we need for the energy that then is going to come in 2020 for the
I,
next stage of the game. Mm-hmm.
and one of the things I'm noticing that it seems like just the general population seems to be more susceptible or noticing these energies more, but not realizing what they are. But I mean, you can see it in how they act. I've seen some pretty bizarre chaotic behavior at times, and it's like, wow, that's like a little pocket of chaos there, and look at all the people when they
Mm-hmm.
enter it or something. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah, but you know what I'm also seeing, Shane? I'm also seeing um this new way of looking at things
hmm.
coming up um in other ways, like in well, you know what, I want to bring up a really good person, a Canadian rapper, Tom McDonald. So who really is talking about things outside the box, saying what other people are afraid to say, talking about being, politically incorrect, talking about having opinions, talking about the rap industry actually highlighting depression for the pharmaceutical companies in order to sell the drugs, like really talking about things outside of the box. I am, so as much as yes, we are seeing we are seeing this chaos and people talking crazy. I'm also seeing many people culturally that are talking about noticing this crazy and what this crazy is and what this crazy really means, not jumping on the bandwagon anymore. Like
Yeah.
everybody's not jumping on the bandwagon. I'm seeing people come out and speak their own truth, whether creatively or like those, and starting to say, no, wait a second. I have an opinion. Don't shame me out of my opinion. Don't, all the different tactics, like people are starting to really see those tactics, and they're starting to talk about them and
Hmm.
starting to feel more confident in speaking their truth and say, no, I am going to speak my truth.
Hmm.
So as much as I do, I'm seeing the chaos too. I have to say, over the last couple of weeks, it really has come to me that I've noticed the interesting things that are coming out of other people's mouths that aren't the crazy chaos, that are like really ingenious. Like you're really seeing this. You're not everybody's blind, not everybody's sheep. That actually really I can see the edge of the culture. I can see the cultural trend going away from victimization, which it was, and starting to step outside that victimization box and say something else creatively, so I think we're really seeing the beginning of a trend of people speaking their truth and not being shamed out of their opinions, and saying the masses don't exactly have it right.
Yeah, and it's sort of moving to that point where you know that you have your opinion, but everyone else equally has a right to their opinion, you know, and it's like getting to that point where you're okay with that. You don't feel like you have to defend your point of view. It's
To be
okay.
triggered because somebody doesn't
Yeah,
agree. They're going to agree or they're not going to agree. I think,
right.
that's it. And just because somebody says something you don't like or does
Yeah.
something you don't like is,
And
well,
that's why I see these little pushes about other things that seem to be kind of touchy, maybe in nature. It seems to be overboard, like the use of certain words and people getting overly offended about things. I don't have to get specific. You get what
yeah,
I'm
but
saying. You know what I
this,
mean?
you're talking about what I'm talking about.
But
Yes.
but it works. You can see how it comes around to work for the good because it forces people to be a little bit more conscious of what they're saying and how they're speaking, and then a little bit more conscious about like where other people are and how they view things and stuff like that. So I can see how, even some of these extreme things we seem that seem ridiculous at times sort of kind of helps the collective in a roundabout way too, you know what I
Well,
mean?
all these things are used from a grain of truth, though. It's like, they're taken
Right.
from a good intention, and
Yeah.
then they're taken like a rubber band and they're stretched way out there. Guarantee
Yeah.
you, when you let go of that band, it's going to come back and snap you one. Because
There's always an
we're
extreme
people
version.
have to start
Yeah.
take responsibility.
Yeah.
We're all conscious, and people don't assume that everybody's unconscientious. People have to start taking responsibility for their own reaction triggers,
Yeah.
everything else. There's plenty of people to help. No, what I was saying,
Hmm.
you just had to help with yourself, deal with your own problems. It's not one or the other. So, that's we all just need to have a little bit more patience. But this at the same time, everybody needs to stop taking themselves so seriously.
That is one of
Really.
the main things that
You get
I've
so
noticed.
angry because somebody just says the wrong thing. Like, I don't know.
Whoops. I just messed up and hit a button that
Uh-oh.
sent an old thing in there. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Oneness Talk Radio plug for you guys.
Oh.
Love you guys over there. It's hilarious. Evidently, the universe wanted me to do a plug for Oneness Talk Radio. So
Yeah, they must
that's
have a good show coming up.
fun. Absolutely. Okay, let me get back to both of us here. Okay, so what was I going to say? Oh, I wanted to say that I'm sitting here, right, while you're talking, and just out in front of me, there's an orb about the size of a softball, sort of an electric blue, and I see it out of the corner of my eye, and I've learned to stop myself from looking over it because you can look at it
Right.
longer out of your peripheral vision
Right.
than if you try to look at it, it disappears. And
Right.
so that was a few minutes ago while you were talking, and I was going to say something, but we were in the middle of talking. And then another sort of a golden, sort of bronzish golden color sort of appeared up here, like above where the blue one had been.
Wow.
So my seeing stuff is definitely picked up.
It
And
really is for you, like noticing how things have like gradually over the
right,
months increased, eh? To like
right.
just this to like that
It's
and
one
like
little thing
more
at a
and more.
time. But at least
One
everybody believes me because they're like, if he was going to make some stuff up by now, he would have done much better than an
yeah.
orb over a month period of time. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
but it's really neat though, and that's why I wanted to share it because I think the more you I think ESETI helped me there because I know it made me more aware that it's always there. You just,
Just relax into it.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Don't have
like you
to.
don't believe it. Like James was saying, he goes, "You'll see it when you believe it, not, you'll believe it when you see it." You're
Yeah.
not seeing stuff right in front of your eyes because you don't believe that you're
Or
seeing
when
what
you're
you're seeing.
requiring it.
Yeah,
You're requiring it, right? It's coming out of a need like
right.
that.
To
Mhm.
prove
It's
it
sort of
or
ego need.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, nah. Yeah, it happens more when you're relaxed into it. Well, that you talking about seeing things, that kind of reminded me of an interesting dream I had just yesterday. I can share, which was kind of unusual because it was one of those. I'm dreaming that I'm waking up in my bed from dreaming, but I'm didn't wake up. I'm still dreaming.
Right.
So those ones are always fun, and it's so real. Like it's just so real. It's crazy. So, but it wasn't exactly the same room, similar but different. But I can remember every detail of this room that I woke up in very, very clearly, very
Wow.
clearly. And mom was in this house too, because so basically what happened is I'm dreaming that I've woken up in my room. and it's slightly different from my room now, but as far as I'm concerned, that's my room. Um, and as I'm opening my eyes from this apparent dreaming, I'm noticing that I'm looking at this like white cabinet across from my bed, and that I'm realizing that even though I've woken up and I'm viewing my room, that I've managed to hold the dream still. Keep in mind, all of this I'm still dreaming, but I think that I'm awake. Um, and it was like having a double vision. I was seeing this other picture so clearly, um and it was like an oval, almost like a portal or whatever, and it was like flying over top of treetops, and it was like some pine trees, some other like deciduous trees that were just bare branches over going over this like ravine, and it was so detailed and so clear. And so I'm frozen in my bed, looking, trying to keep it, trying to keep like, oh my god, like this is crazy. Here I am awake, but I'm still able to actually see, like I'm having an actual vision, like an actual vision right in front of me. I've never experienced that before. And this is what I'm thinking in my dream. I've never experienced this. And then I can hear mom walking up the stairs, coming up to the stairs to my room, because in this house, apparently, like I was up in like this attic room and the stairs just only go up to my room. So I hear mom coming, and I'm like, I'm trying to hold it, trying to hold this vision and hold these dual states at the same time, thinking like waiting for mom to come up and open the door, so I can just like my eyes like this, mom, like I'm seeing things right now, right? Like I'm having this vision. And then just as she opens the door in the room, I wake up. I actually for reals wake up in my bed. And it was so strange.
Oh man, that is awesome.
It was really crazy. Like this room was so clear. I This was my other room. Like even now, like I remember it. Like it felt like it was my room, but it was different.
Right, but it didn't
But I
stand out
totally
as being
felt,
normal. Right, it didn't.
but it was the same feeling, like waking up in that dream, waking up to that room, even though it was a different room than this, waking up to that room and looking around and seeing it felt just the same to me. And that's what I really noticed, as where again, when I actually for reals woke up in my bed and I look around, it was like the same thing. Like that was really impressed on me too. Like how similar that waking awareness is, of like waking and like, oh, I'm in my room. But wait, I'm having a vision. But then waking up again. Okay, no, now I'm in my room. But that was my room too.
Right, but you
Like
didn't wake
that
up
was a
again,
really
right?
dual thing. It was like that was my room too. Like that felt just as much my room as this feels like my room right now. So
And
what's
was
up
there
with
like
that?
strange? So it was strange items in there and stuff, though. It wasn't like your room you're in
Different
right now. It was like,
furniture, different furniture.
could it have been a different timeline that you subconsciously kind of know it's back there or something?
Maybe, maybe, yeah, yeah. But I mean, it really, again, it always gets highlighted to me, this waking up experience, right? Like they say, waking up, and that this is just a dream our consciousness is having, and that there's all these levels of waking up, and we're just going to continue to like wake up, and again, like that every time we wake up in our room, like we really are wake up in a dream, or we're really waking up into another level of reality, and we
Mm-hmm.
actually, I think, have that opportunity to
Yeah.
wake up in a higher reality all the time. And I mean, for myself, I really crunch down, like I'm always making sure. I mean, I used to always do the meditations during the day and do my process in the middle of the day, and have a habit of that. But I'm really making sure that I'm doing it every time before I go to sleep now, because I really feel like I'm understanding that I'm going into this portal that has an opportunity to really level me up. I work doing a lot of different work. And I think, when you come out of it, like setting that timer to make the most of it before going into it ups me coming out of it at a higher and higher vibration, or getting more and more out of the experience of whatever work I'm doing within the dreams. Timelines, all that different stuff, right? I think there has definitely been some timeline play in dreams this week.
Yeah.
I've really seen that because stuff has come up that nothing bad or whatever, but popping into what could have been in other scenarios, like really weird. If life had gone down that road, and being different, and
like you went to IKEA instead of Sears or something, and all your furniture was different. And,
yeah, who knows?
Just,
or just
well, what
staying
did your
in.
mom say? So okay, so because I just got to complete this picture in my mind. So
Yeah.
you're hearing your mom come up in real life, correct? While you're asleep?
No, in the dream.
Wait. But I mean, she wasn't really coming up the steps.
No.
Oh, okay. So I'm thinking in real life, right?
That's what's so confusing. It's hard to tell the story because the whole time I'm telling it, I want to impress how real this is and what's going on. But at the same time, it was all a dream.
Right. So I thought you I thought you dreamt that you woke up, right? And you
Yes.
heard your mom coming, right? Which is all true.
Yeah.
But I thought the sound of your mom coming was you, even in that level of sleep, still hearing her coming.
No.
And then when she opened the door, she made you wake up out of that dream.
No.
That's what I was imagining. Okay, so
no,
she
Mom
wasn't
was
really
still,
coming.
No, she was still downstairs. I went down to tell her about it afterwards. No, she was not coming up the stairs. She didn't open the door. Nobody woke me up. It woke me up. It woke myself up. Yeah. But yeah, it's
trippy,
crazy,
though.
isn't it? It is so trippy because it's so real.
Did
It's
you almost
like
expect
even
your
right
mom to
now.
be there when you woke up?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was kind of
Yeah,
weird that she
totally.
wasn't there because you just.
No, my first thought is I got to go tell Mom, like, because I was trying to hold it. Like I was trying to hold this vision, not loose. Like this is what reminded me of telling you the story when you were talking about the spheres and sort of seeing them. And you're like, okay, like, so it was like once, like I realized my eyes locked in and we're doing this, I was just trying to maintain this, like my zone. I was just trying to like maintain the zone of like keeping this picture fixated. But at the same time, I'm like, Mom's coming up. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta tell Mom that this is going on, like this, and I'm like frozen trying to hold it. And then just as the door opens, and then I'm like, and then I wake up. It's like going through the experience all over again. Like I just woke up in my room. And then like 2 minutes later, and then I'm waking up again in my room. What?
See, now that kind of reminds me of that one you had where you were like playing with the energies or your necklace or something. What was it again?
Oh, that's another one. But that was this room.
Right.
That one when
But you were still asleep and thought you had woke up, right? Yeah.
And it was super real. And that's very, like, exactly, like really similar, same thing. And that's what I found interesting. Well, that one, I did wake up in my room.
Right.
Like in the dream.
Right. It's like Inception dreams, man. I love it.
Yeah. And when I had the OBE, that was still in my room. Like I came out into my room. It was still my room. Right. But yeah, no, this was waking up. But that was really, I have to impress, like what was so curious about the experience is how similar it was to me waking up in that room and then waking up in my own room. Like that just felt exactly the same.
Right.
And when I look at the memory of it now, they feel exactly the same.
It doesn't even feel strange that it was filled with different furniture and stuff like that. There's still a familiarity to that.
Totally familiar. Totally familiar.
That's weird.
Really weird. Yeah, the
furniture
furniture
like you jump timelines and jump back, and
like I felt comfortable in that space. Like that was my space. I felt like that was my room. Like that recognition, when you waking in that coming into the recognition of, oh, this is my room. Like I saw my things. I'm recognizing my room.
So you had a dream that you had a lucid dream, but you weren't really lucid dreaming, right?
Yeah, that's a weird one too.
You had a dream you were lucid dreaming. That's a trip. Because somebody's putting lucid dreaming. Rochelle is asking, and I'm like, not quite.
Not quite.
It was a dream about lucid dreaming.
Because I thought that was my room. Right. And I do like so because usually for me the tip to go lucid is that things are go out of like for me now lucidity comes because things aren't working in my environment.
Right. Or they're out of place and you notice them, but
they're out
Here
of
you had a
place, or things
completely.
get frustrating, or whatever it is, and I'm like,
But that's weird that things were out of place but didn't feel out of place this time. It felt
that's
totally
right.
normal.
So hence
That's
there was
weird,
nothing to trigger lucidity.
right?
And because it felt super real, it felt super real, just like you're right, the experience when I like woke up in my, except I didn't have the energy buzz. So because some of my dreams when I wake up like that, um like the reason I knew I could move my necklace in that first dream was because I was vibrating.
Right.
um and that's really key too. So I know, like when it starts to vibrate and you feel the vibration and you're literally resonating through your whole body, um it's super real. I don't realize that I'm dreaming in that state, because to me it's like that's how I like know. It's kind of like that room that wasn't my room, but I thought it was my room because it those all the signs were there to show me that was my room.
Right.
So it's the same thing, like so the vibration and resonance comes in, so I'll wake up and I'm like humming, like
Yeah.
and I know like the air's charged, everything's charged, I'm charged. And then it's like, oh, look what I can do now.
Yeah.
Right. And feel it because I'm experimenting with what I'm feeling. So yeah, so this experience was a little different than that because I didn't have the vibration going on, but it was super super vivid, like the detail of all these trees, like the detail. And again, it comes back to that abundant awareness, because there was a dual thing going on, being able to retain the amount of detail of what I was seeing visually within the room, yet at the same time being able to take in the amount of detail that was in like a, like an oval, like a large oval mirror. Like if you pictured a wardrobe, a big, decent sized wardrobe, it was a white wardrobe, and it was like over top, like big oval. um I could see this flying over this whole forest,
Mm.
and it was just as real what I was experiencing flying over this forest simultaneously at the same time that I'm experiencing my room. So it wasn't just like seeing it on a TV screen. It really
It's
was
like
like
bilocating.
it was like I was having an experience of flying over these treetops and looking down at the rocks and the steep
Yeah.
inclines. Like I was flying above it and having that experience, not just like watching it on a TV, but actually having that like dreamlet experience in here, but at the same time still having that experience. So it wasn't just like a TV was on and I was seeing it. There
Right.
was a simultaneous experience going on. So again, for me, that comes back to that ability of higher frequencies, which we're getting zapped with these frequencies at night when we sleep. These higher frequencies cause an abundant attention, causes an ability to be able to focus on multiple consciousnesses at the same time.
So what
It's
do
a
you
work
feel like? Do you feel
awakening.
like you sort of tapped into another alternate version of yourself, or do you feel like it was a bilocating sort of thing as yourself, and just being able to split your consciousness and experience two places at once? I think even Jesus talked about that. He saw one of his disciples sitting under a tree because he sort of went there
Yeah,
consciously, and saw
yeah.
him, but he never really went there. And that sounds like, you're in this forest and you're there, you're consciously there, but if someone was there, they probably wouldn't have seen you. But you were there.
Right.
You were a point of
But I
consciousness
had an
observing.
experience. I had an
Exactly.
experience. Right.
Exactly.
I had an
Yeah.
experience of being there.
So I wonder which it is. I wonder if you're bilocating within one timeline or if you're experiencing two timelines. There's so many different ways this could go.
I think it's not so much to have like the definitive answers on exactly what the experience is. It's so much as it is to understand how um our experience is changing. Like, because what it seems to me is it keeps showing these different abilities, these different things, and a lot of it stems back to abundant awareness for me to get a better and better understanding of how you will be able to function in higher frequencies. And it just seems to be always coming back to that, like these are the different unique things that you'll be able to do. So it's kind of like a practice, like being able to practice and train and play with the experience to be able to come to greater understanding of the experience. You know,
Mm-hmm.
could it have been another timeline? Quite possibly, because it could be just showing me how you can feel just as comfortable moving around and shifting. Um,
You know what's funny is I thought about my question to you. I'm like, is it two timelines or is it you splitting off into two consciousnesses? And then I thought, is there a difference? You know, when it comes down
that's
to it, it's
it.
like we don't even know for sure that I'm describing two different things. It could be all the same thing for all we know.
And I think that's part of it, is like to put these things into actual, like into like, words and categories won't necessarily help us at this as much at this time as actually just
Yeah,
slowly getting comfortable and sinking into how you can have these different conscious awareness. And really, that again always does bring me back to what we started with in the beginning, of how we are seeing this separation within ourselves, of hearing the masculine and female voices and what they have to say, or hearing the heart, hearing the mind, noticing the differences, noticing that you can be both of those things, and bringing that into balance and harmony and getting comfortable with it. It's all part and parcel this the same thing, the same process. So even though we can it dives in over here in an interesting experience, and then it goes over here in an interesting experience, it's not so much whether it was a specific timeline or just this, that, the other thing. Either way, it was an experience for me. That's just all part of um the getting comfortable with knowing, intuitively knowing how to move through things, how to
yeah.
work through all this different.
Trying to think who it was earlier. It might have been Dave. Somebody said,
Hey, Dave.
"Am I the only one spinning?" And I got more of that pineal gland spinning
Yeah.
vortex feeling in my head.
Yeah.
So it can't just be me. So I wanted to go over some symptoms that maybe
Yeah, please
it,
do.
yeah,
Yeah.
that like that's one that he just mentioned that I can definitely confirm. I've had similar head spinning type things, typically during meditation, but other times just seems like in the out of the clear blue, I'll just feel overwhelmingly
Yep.
dizzy and need to take a little nap in the afternoon. And I feel like I always wake up with insights and stuff. So I think I'm getting
For sure.
downloads. I don't know, but
For sure. And
yeah,
you know
it
what I
feels
think what
like it.
happens in that, like our physical body shuts down, so we can use that energy to take in what we need to take in. So I mean, that's the best thing. But yeah, I think, when we get like that, it is a really good, if you can, to just go take a time out, because it is a lot of energy. And so if we cut down the physical work, then that energy can be used for other things to incorporate this all quicker. But all our resources can be used to bring in what needs to be bring in, and work through it and rest, right?
Oh yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah. Yeah. But
And a
I
lot
I,
of
I can vouch for that too. That's yeah, the
yeah.
spin. It's like woo, 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 woo. For me. Yeah. It's
What
pretty
other
crazy.
have you had any other symptoms or had anybody report any other stuff going around? Of course, headaches. I've had a weird one where it like sort of
Yeah.
hits me like I would say like down from here and in from here, probably to the right of my
Yeah.
pineal gland.
Yeah.
Probably just to the right of my pineal gland,
Yeah.
maybe, but it feels very specific and like a
Hmm.
pinpoint spot in the middle of my head. And I'm like, what the heck is that?
That's what yeah, because I mentioned that last week. I put on my list last week. I did mention that because it was a
Yeah,
very specific, almost sharp,
yeah,
pinpoint sort of pressure.
yeah.
Um, where
Anybody
did
else
I write?
getting that? Chime in.
Sharp pains and crown, dull headaches, and sort of like a sort of a sharp or very located local
Mm-hmm.
either sensation or even pain or stop, like,
And it
but
only
sort of
lasts for a second.
specific.
It's not like a nagging headache where
Yeah.
it lasts all day. It's like kind of
No, it
it
just like
hurts real bad and then kind of like a brain freeze where it just kind of goes away
yeah,
after a
like
second.
yeah, you're like, oh, where'd that come?
Yeah,
Like
but it's
just like a
bad
pit
like a
in there
brain
for a
freeze,
second.
but really,
Mhm.
really located in a pinpoint spot, like you're saying. You know, a brain
Yeah,
freeze sort of radiates everywhere. This would
yeah.
be like one little
Right where
spot,
you're
like a
pointing.
stabbing. Yeah, a
Yeah.
little
Right where
stabbing
you
thing.
on your right
Yeah,
side,
yeah,
right here.
yeah,
Yeah. Right where you're pointing. And it just went
yeah.
like,
So
what
what
is
is
that? A
that?
drill bit? Like an etheric drill bit?
Right.
Because you don't actually feel the pain, but it's just really weird. I'm like, what
Yeah.
are you guys? Are you probing me right now? What is this? Yeah,
Really?
definitely something coming in. It was very. I got my finger on it right now, the exact spot right there. Well, for me, I
Michelle
know.
said lots of pinpricks in it. It held
Mhm.
her comment. It held her comment. I thought she was saying something bad, but no.
Let's see what
That's
else was on.
hilarious.
Well,
Pinprick.
for me, the physical experience was definitely like all in the hip, lower back pain, in the hips, like and like burning sensation, like that goes through the knees, and wasn't like it wasn't sciatic, and it was on the other side more, which is usually if I get a problem, it's on this side,
Yeah.
but no reason for it. Just woke up and it just feel again like broken glass in the hips, like it's just so, and it just
Yeah.
burns down the legs and goes under the kneecaps and into the feet, like it's just really exhausting pain, like burn. It was not comfortable, no explanation for it. So I really took it easy.
Several
um
people I know have had this sort of sciatica nerve
yeah,
pain that radiates
yeah,
down all the way into your heel,
yeah,
and
all the yeah.
it's really uncomfortable. And the funny thing is, I've heard a number of people talk about that. So I won't be
I'm really
surprised. I need
thinking,
to get with Eva with Once Upon a Timeline to see if we're
yeah.
changing in our facet joints or our hips or lower back or something is changing as
Well,
a
what I
result of the
was really
Mandela effect.
feeling like is, when you're talking about the pinpoint and the pressure, like I really feel like the energy comes in and it's like, and we feel it. And we get the bottleneck and it like comes in and right, and
Yeah.
then it goes down. It goes down to the center of the earth, hits it, rings like a bell, and then comes back out. And for me, I think that that's when I experience. So I experience one set of sensations when it comes in, like downloads start popping up, things get activated, codes start going off, boom, 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 boom. The energy goes in, down to the center of the earth, reverberates, comes back out then with a magnified pulse, I think, right? Because it's the
Hmm.
earth that's reacting then too. That's the earth's react, and it's lifting us up, and then it comes back up through the feet. Now, I was really starting to feel like I was understanding that process this week, and that is really what was going on, and that it's coming back up through the feet, and it's just so much energy for me. And because I am so open, I make myself so open to take in whatever it is I have to take. I make it my full-time job. That kind of set myself up for it too, right?
Yeah.
To
So
take
that
and do it,
sounds
but it
like
comes
that's
back up through the root, right? Through the feet, up through your root,
yeah.
and it can really take a toll. But I think it's deconstructing a lot of foundations that are there in a very rapid pace right now. Rapid to try to accelerate things along, get us more and more prepared and in balance for what's coming in the next few months. But that's really what I was feeling like the experience is.
Yeah, Feisty said she got the same headache I was getting, but on the left side, and it was funny. Like right before I read that, I felt it
Mhm.
on my left side, and
Yeah.
then I read her comment. I'm like, that was weird. Why did I feel that way?
Yeah.
But it,
Yeah.
it, it came and went really fast. So yeah, I guess I have had it on both sides, and I can totally see not noticing if it's really quick because it's
Yeah.
bad, but it's really quick. So you might not even
Yeah.
pay much
I
attention.
had another common dream theme come up from a couple of people that I'll mention quickly to see if anybody else is getting it too. So basically, I won't give specific, but the general idea of each scenario is being somewhere that you would have been before, like in a house with friends, people, relatives, whoever it was, um, in a house, kind of going through the same motions that you maybe have previously gone through that never really made you happy, that you weren't, whatever it was, you know, all of a sudden you're realizing, hey, I don't got to do this anymore. Like I'm at like, and not angry, not triggered, not any of those things, not reacting to the situation where they normally would have, but just be like, yeah, I don't need it. I don't need to do this. Like I can just leave. I'm out of here. Peace. Maybe not even saying goodbye. Just like just gonna be I'm up and leave. Um,
She's not
and
talking about
then
you, Mom. Don't worry.
no, no. So I have had a couple people have some dream scenarios like that. Whether or not they're able to, to go and I think, there's some interesting nuances with that. So I'm not sure if anybody's had those scenarios kind of come up lately, but I've heard a couple stories. So I thought it'd be interesting to share. it's not specific. There's some slight variances with the separate dreams that I've heard, but the theme I could see was very much the same. And I just saw it as like just coming to the realization. It's like I don't need to play the same game. I don't need to be here. Like we're really leaving that stuff behind. The old
You think
whatever it is, the
it's sort of like,
dynamics.
people get stuck with all of these invisible, they're bound by all these invisible things, and I think as people begin to become more aware that, hey, I'm being held by something that's not even real,
Well, that's it.
You're
All
like,
those
what's really
invisible
holding me?
things.
Let me think of
Yeah.
what's really holding me here at this
Yeah.
job, at this location, at this house, in this relationship, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then
And
you
this
begin to
same
look at it, and you're like,
conversation. Yeah. Why am I doing
wow,
this?
wow, I could just, there's nothing holding me back
You
other
mean
than
I
me
can just leave?
deciding, yeah, I'm
Like
out of
I can
here.
just I don't have to make a fuss. I don't have to tell anybody. I don't have to
Right.
explain myself. I don't have to tell everybody my reasons for
Yeah,
why. I can just go.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot. I'm seeing that a lot. I think the next few months, listen, is really going to call us in a lot of different ways, materialistically, relationship wise, maybe career wise, all these different things is like, do you really need that still? Like, do
Yeah.
you really need that? Like, you're
Hmm.
holding on to it.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Because some stuff, you'll hang on to it and it just brings you down, whatever that thing. It could even be trying to help someone with a solution. I mean, it might not even be related to you. You might just be getting involved with someone's journey that is really none of your business or something. And maybe it's
Yeah.
pulling you down on your
So
journey.
many,
There's
there's
so many
so many
different,
things.
but it's listening to your heart and being in tune and really paying attention to how you feel to know if you're helping that person or you're just really bringing yourself down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think we're really going to be called to release things. Really going to be called to be able to release things. Can you let things go? Can you let things go?
Can
Physical
you realize
things?
it's not your responsibility? That's a huge
Yeah.
thing. A lot of times we take on responsibility that's not even ours, you know?
Yeah. But
I
that
mean,
could
think
be
about your
coming from a
adult
need to
kid.
be needed.
Right, but think about your kid when your role changes and your kid's out on their own and stuff, but you still want to treat them like they're under your roof and stuff. They can be difficult to let go of things like that, but they
Is
are
that
an
for your
adult.
need or theirs? So, right?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All of those things. And we have to, I, in a lot of different ways. And I think this is where we really have to pull it back into ourselves to be able to unravel these things, these different things that we may be holding on to, whether
Hmm.
they be physical things or thoughts or relationships or all of these different aspects is
Hmm.
going to be called into question. And how easily you can release things,
Yeah.
whether they're physical or that you can let those things go, that's really going to be the test.
And it
So
can be huge. If you're talking about someone in your life that you felt this need to, I've got to convince them, I've got to wake them up. I love them so much. I don't want to see them, blah, 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 and then you feel sort of responsible about someone. It's so much easier to get to the point where you realize, look, that's their choice to do what they're
that's their
doing.
journey.
And I'm going to just love them. That's so much easier.
Yeah,
Just love
it's
them. You
their
don't have to
journey.
convince them.
Who are
It's
you
their
to
journey.
control their journey?
Yeah.
Who
If
are
they
you?
want to take the hard road, you might see that they're going the hard route, but
But
how
that's
many
your
times have we done
judgment.
that? Yeah. How many
But
times have
that's
we
your
done that?
judgment. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sometimes that's what it takes,
It
you
is.
know?
We all have our own process. Yeah, you
And it's
can't.
okay.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I think a lot of those different kinds of scenarios are going to come up over the next few months, and I think it's a really good opportunity to choose before you're pushed to make the choice.
Yeah.
Start making the choice yourself
Hmm.
before you're pushed into position to have to make the choice. And you'll be required to you'll just do this more naturally. But start looking at, even within your physical environment, what can you let go of? What can you make room for? In
Hmm.
order to bring in new experiences, it's a really good process. The purging's going on within ourselves. Purging within your environment is good too. Go through things that
Hmm.
you don't. What are you keeping within your house physically that you don't
That's a
even
good point.
use?
And things that maybe served you at one point, maybe they no longer serve you.
Are you
And
just
you can,
keeping things because you think you're going to use it one day, but
yeah.
you don't? So that's coming from a lack mentality too. Like, why are you really keeping it? Because you may or you may not. Well, you haven't used it in 10 years.
Yeah.
Are you worried you're going to use
So
it in the next 6 weeks?
physical and spiritual clutter. This is a message for both sides, I think. Because
It
a lot of
really,
us carry around spiritual clutter just
I
as
think
well, you know.
it's part of the process.
Yeah.
And if I think if we can do that physically, if we can show that we're willing to do that physically, then it becomes a lot easier in turn to do that spiritually as well. But if you can't do it physically, you're not going to be able to do it spiritually.
Yeah.
So
Life
it's a
within,
good
so
place to
without.
start. If you're kind of feeling like you're a standstill right now, kind of like what's next, then I think a good place to be is what's in your environment right now. Like, start small. Just start small and
What's
start
in
to
your
look at
wallet? Right.
what's in your wallet. Do you really need it? Like,
Right.
what's in your closet? What's in it? Like, what's collecting dust?
Yeah.
And start making room for new things, because that becomes then in turn an internal process as well, and it shows a willingness spiritually to be able to release those things. And I think it can make this whole process flow a lot faster for you. Make
And
room within yourself to bring in the new, better things, and not be coming from lack, right?
Yeah. And it is a shift in perspective, because you can look at it like, I'm losing all these things that I love, or just getting excited about a new chapter, something new. We're going to move forward. We're going to start a new chapter. And it can really, you know how it is when you like rearrange a room or something, the room suddenly feels new again and exciting again. Sometimes change is good, change is needed, and it's good to be open to change.
Yeah. But yeah, take a good look at what you're keeping and why you're keeping it.
Yeah. And if it no longer serves you, get it out of there.
Get rid of it. Get rid of it. In order for new to come in, we gotta make some room. And I think there's a lot of new that can be coming in, with next year. And now is a really good time to start making preparation and making space for that within our environment physically and within ourselves. I think that's what we're really getting called to do.
Does that apply for your mom and the shed too?
What's that?
Does that apply to your mom and cleaning out the shed?
Yes.
And being a hoarder?
Yes. It does, Mom. With so much love.
You like my psychic abilities with the chat room?
Yeah.
Here?
Hi, Mom. Yeah. But that's a part of sharing. Like, there's a lot of other people that can learn from that too. It's a message for everybody. So, but yeah, I knew she'd be listening. Let it go. Let it go.
But we were talking about it in the spiritual too, so
yeah, talking about that for everybody. It wasn't talking about you, Mom.
Who do you got there with you?
Oh, it's Zoe Baloney.
Say hi, Zoe.
Hi, Zoe. Hey, Zoe. But it's been an hour, has it?
Zoe loves you. Yeah.
Zoe,
is this timer right on the spot?
She's got her timer.
She's got that internal timer.
She does. She's like, Mom, it's been an hour. I think you've talked enough.
All right, I guess we can wrap it up. I'm noticing that the time matches my hat here in the center.
Perfect.
3:33. Perfect time to close her out.
Awesome.
My hat is right with the time twice a day, by the way.
That's perfect.
A big shout out and thanks to Frank for getting this for me. I love it.
I gotta get one of those. Where did you get it from? Those
he got it from,
that's my lucky number.
Yeah, Everyday Masters case. The YouTuber Everyday Masters, he sells them. So he's got the 333. He's got the black one with the 1111. That's pretty cool.
I gotta get the 333. That's for me. It's the 333. It's 333. 333.
Yeah. See, the 1111's always been big for me because my mom's birthday.
Now Archer's in on it. Sorry, guys. Hey,
right.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Love you, Michelle. Thanks for coming on, and love you guys. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace. If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.